and he's being called the father of video art.
So how would you classify Nam June Park's work?
Nam June Park's work, even before the term multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary come along, he has been working with collaborators. He worked with different types of people, different kinds of artists, designers, engineers, scientists. So he is not thinking about how to gel works together, but rather how we can produce interesting work, new forms of work, and even works that talks about communication and interaction. His work, especially the one that he dealt with, Good Morning, Mr. Orwell, done in 1984, he talks more about how the satellite has been used for military at first, but he's using it for a pacifist kind of approach. So he's using it as a type of work that talks about communication and interaction. It's a pacifist work.
So you think his use of the different medium and the different ways of exploring art is for the sake of to enhance his concept, or is it just for the sake of exploring the material and the new medium?
It will work as both ways, because at first he's interested in gadgets, machines, new technology, and of course how different technology can clash together, and different artists and different people of engineering background or technologies can work together. And of course the idea came from the precisely how different technologies can work together. So it is really very interrelated, multiple formats, and it also speaks of different forms of presentation, which is more gelled together and not separating, okay, this is performance or this is video art.
So would you classify his work is more to the new media, or still in terms of, because there's a certain how of his artwork, there's a certain elements of assemblage, and as you can see the works behind us have shown a little bit of those painterly quality.
There's many ways of looking at his work, I find, and based on his interview, he talks about how this combination of objects, even handmade, hand-drawn elements, is a form of communication. And like what you see on some of the screens, they have a lot of mixed images, and these are a new form of looking at artworks or images or even image making, where the audience, the viewer, can have a say to create content. And this is precisely also on how the future of internet has a lot to do with the concept of Nam June Paik, where he talks about communications and image manipulation and content making by the user, and not only by the artist. So he is trained as a scientist and also tinkering with different gadgets, and he's also a multidisciplinary artist himself. So his work speaks of different types of aesthetics. So you can see a performative aesthetic and visual art aesthetic. And the work is neither 2D or 3D or even time-based. It's all combined into one.
So when you say the work is neither 2D or 3D or whatever, that means the appreciation of the artwork is of a different form. It creates a new form of aesthetic.
Well,
because comparing back then, his contemporary back then, there's no artist who did the kind of work like what he did.
Well, he started off in the 60s or early 60s, and he joined a group called the Fluxus Group in New York. And at the time in Europe and in the US, there are people who are working with video art. And each video artist has different concerns. Like Wolf of Style would be more concerned about how the essence of the TV image is almost the same, or is a product of the human essence or the human image. And for Nam June Paik, he has a lot of formats to work with different artists. And I think that his way of communication, his way of working, his working methods also speaks about how he is more concerned about interaction and communication with different people. And going back to your question, the term new media is also a very new or very current way of describing artworks or art forms that you can't really describe, and the use of new technology like the internet or cyber art was also considered new media. But in the end, it's just tools. It's just tools and formats and platforms and ways of presentation that create new ways or new forms of aesthetics. And with this new stuff, new gadgets, new forms, new aesthetics, even how you combine applied arts, let's say painting combined with technology, is also a way of looking at new media. But a lot of times we forget about the concepts behind the new media works. It's more on how different thinking, different way of presenting, different approach to getting a work out to present a work is also a way of conceptual framework.
Okay, beside the using it as a tool, as a media, because of his background.
It's not me, it's him.
Yeah,
not me.
because of his background also. Did you think that there's anything that influenced his work, as a scientist or engineer or things like that?
Based on his background, he has worked at the radio station before, and he has worked with the technologies on mass communication. So a lot of influences came from communication backgrounds, like in the communications industry. So you can say that he is really more like a technologist, and but because he's also an artist, so that's why he employed his knowledge in technology in his work.
So do you think that he's just layering or overlapping the knowledge and the tools, or is he integrating the knowledge and tools to create a new body language, a new language on art?
Well, this one is also a question for the students. See, is it multidisciplinary or is it interdisciplinary? Does his body of work capture a new sense of looking at artworks, or is it creating a new art form? So basically, we're asking whether did he create a new aesthetics? Did he create new art form, or did he create a new way of looking at art, and also new working methods?